welcome to another edition of the Corded Point podcast. Sorry we couldn't come, we couldn't do some episodes earlier because Dave was doing his Midas writing and he was doing a lot of preview pieces to the T20 World Cup. I was also busy. So, Dave, it's good to have you again on the Corded Point podcast.
I couldn't
How
have
does
been
it feel
happier
to
to
come
come
back?
back. I couldn't have been happier. I couldn't have been happier. And thank you so much, guys, for hopefully missing us. And now we are back here after the inadvertent but sad delay. But we are here to deliver kick-ass content, honest and straight from the gut and the heart.
That's right. Dave, can you show the viewers your West Indies jersey?
Yeah, it's actually because of the weight that I've lost that it just kind of puffed out of my chest, by which I just mean the opposite. So, yeah, this is in full solidarity for the magnificent performance, which was 55 all out.
Speaking of weight, Dave, West Indies certainly needs the weight of run.
Wait, what are you talking about? Serious
So,
content? Okay.
so, guys, we are here to preview the South Africa West Indies match tomorrow. As you've seen, Dave is wearing the West Indies jersey. So, obviously, I haven't seen a bigger fan than Dave for West Indies, and I consider myself as a
He
South
means
African
thanks.
fan, a Protea lover. So, Dave, before we get into previewing the match, there have been some comments that I saw on social media regarding the India-Pakistan game last evening, where India was rather beaten quite convincingly by 10 wickets. So the I've seen people talk about Indian cricket or other Indian players not performing up to expectations and criticizing them, but I've hardly seen anyone appreciate how well Pakistan played, especially Babar Azam, Shaheen Shah Afridi, and Mohammad Rizwan. So what are your two cents
So,
on that?
in order to appreciate Pakistan, we are running the risk of being branded anti-national. And if so happens, then our Aadhaar card and our passports can get cancelled, which is not a great thing to do, which is not a great feeling to have. And of course, I'm just kidding. We have not yet run into that phase. But I think, in all seriousness, salute to Pakistan, and I actually mean the word salute. And I'm using this word in front of all the Indian fanboys who cannot accept defeat with a bit of grace, because I think cricket beckons us to respect our opponent. Just the same way Pranay is respecting the can of Diet Coke and he's just gulping it down. Because Pakistan last night could not respect us, they could not respect our
It's
feelings, they
Diet
just
Pepsi,
crushed
Dave.
us.
Brand
And
loyalty. Like
we are
Indian
not
fanboys
sponsored
have
by them.
loyalty towards India.
We are not sponsored by them, by the way. We are sponsored by too many calories, any which ways. But yeah, I think Pakistan played good cricket. But you know what? In all seriousness, um, India should just take heart from the defeat here. And I mean, we should just accept the fact that they were the better team. They outplayed us. And it's the start of the tournament. The world is not coming crashing down on us. And there's no need to panic. It's just the start of the tournament. And we're going to bounce back stronger. India, I mean.
Right. So, talking about bouncing back, how do you see West Indies bouncing back against South Africa tomorrow?
Uh, okay, I just
Are
hope
they
that
going to bounce back or are they going to just bounce out?
I think they should just dance down the track and just hit a couple of lofty sixes. But that's not the only thing which they should do. I think the three things which are lacking in the West Indian cricket right now, the three things which are lacking in the West Indies cricket right now are uh, lack of partnerships and the ability to play spin, which is going to come in very handy tomorrow if Keshav Maharaj and
Tabraiz
Tabraiz
Shamsi.
Shamsi attack in tandem. Yeah. And the third thing is the accumulation of the dot balls. That really adds on to a lot of pressure. And I think if the West Indies can just tick these three basic boxes and just hold it together for a while and just not go berserk, then I think there's no reason to doubt their potential. They are two-time world champions, but what they need to do is that they need to really play like a champion, go out there, express themselves, have faith in themselves, and just be patient. Because its success will not only be determined by the lengths the white ball travels when a Pollard or Bravo or Gale or Lewis hit it from the middle of the bat. It's about having partnerships. It's about just staying down, focusing, and just spending time in the middle also.
So Dave, this brings me to another question. So the West Indies, or rather the West Indian players, they don't really like their Caribbean compatriot Usain Bolt too much, do they? Because they don't like running between the wickets. But the only
They
thing they
don't.
want to do is just hit sixes. So how
Uh,
important do you think is rotating strike and going for those ones and twos in T20 cricket, especially in the UAE, where you have those tired pitches where the IPL, the big IPL has also happened. So when you can't really effortlessly just keep hitting fours and sixes, how important do ones and twos become?
well, that's really the bolt in the stars. I mean, the fault in the stars. But really, yeah, I think you've captured the pulse there, right there, Pranay. If you really, for example, if you're not able to hit a boundary every over, which can happen on any given day, yeah, because let's not forget that T20, no matter how batsman inclined it also belongs to the bowlers, especially spinners. So if you're not able to hit boundaries, just convert the ones into twos, not just look for the soft spots. Just use the depth of the crease, just explore the gaps, vacant areas, just put the pressure back on the fielders by stealing singles. I don't see Chris Gale doing that. I don't see Evan Lewis doing a lot of that. And I definitely, from the little I've seen of the fantastic Nicholas Puran, I don't really see him doing that also. And he's the vice captain. So somebody from the West Indian perspective is going to have to steer the innings. The other day we saw Aiden Markram making the crux of the runs. It was around his
Yeah.
batting that the other batsman revolved, or at least tried to. They took the game to the final over. So it's not just about big lusty blows, powerful hits, or the number of hours you spend in the gymnasium and then just flexing the biceps. It's all good for theatrics. It's all good for Instagram updates and those stories on Facebook. But what really wins the game is how. So there's this statement from Peter Watson. He's an author. He wrote a book called The German Genius, and he says the Germans dive deeper but emerge muddier. Now, you won't be able to emerge muddier until unless you haven't really gone to the depth. The West Indies team, which lifted the T20 World Cup half a decade back, was a team which really enjoyed their cricket. Yes, they were led by an exceptional leader in Darren Sammy, but make no mistake, Pollard is no slouch either. But can they really hold it together? Can they play the crunch moments together? If it is 0 for 2 tomorrow or 1 for 2 tomorrow, do they have the middle order which is willing to put its head down and form a partnership? Yes, it is 20 overs, but if the 0 to 3 overs or 0 to 4 overs go in South Africa's favor, can the West Indians be prepared to play at least the fourth over until the ninth without losing a wicket? So cricket is basically defined by these fine margins. And I would expect West Indies to work on that area. Yeah, over to you.
Dave, I think West Indies should see this as 120 balls rather than seeing 20 overs, because it when you see it as the number of balls, it seems more magnanimous. And then they know that they can build their innings rather than just thinking, I only have 20 overs and I need to just go all out.
Right?
I think that's
Well
another
said.
way of looking at it. Because,
Well said.
honestly, what I saw with South Africa, despite losing so many wickets, early wickets against Australia, is that they never stopped the singles. They continued rotating strike, and when they realized that they can go after the bowling in the little way they could, they went after it. The difference that West Indies couldn't do is that despite losing wickets, they just went all out attacking. If at that point against England, they would have, as you rightly said, that look for singles, look for twos, kept smaller milestones like 15 overs, I need to be around 80, 85. Then I'll take it
Yeah.
from there. They could have still reached about 115, 120.
Cricket just works out like economics. A rupee
Yeah,
saved is like a rupee earned. So a wicket
exactly.
saved is like a wicket earned at the end of the day, by which I mean you have the bank of wickets to fall back on. So that is when you take the risk from the 11th over, the 13th over, the 14th over, because even if you are conservative until the 14th over, last 36 balls, West Indies still have the batsmen who can make 60 out of
Exactly.
36.
Exactly.
They can actually explode at 10 and over.
Yeah.
But 10 and over जाने के लिए they need to just conserve the wickets.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because if you're
you
like
don't.
7 down by the time you have 6 overs remaining, then it's obviously
like
you save wickets or you go for runs. It's like that.
It's like a classic Michael Jackson pop number. The moonwalk used to come towards the end. He would lead you to the point of the moonwalk, then he would just go wild and berserk, and then you would start dancing with him on the dance floor. So, but let's talk about South Africa.
Yeah, if South African West Indies need to take one learning on how to construct innings, I think Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan have beautifully shown the way. Yeah. Because if you saw the match yesterday, they didn't go all out initially. They built an innings, they gained confidence, they sort of tired the Indian bowlers, and then they went all out in the last few overs, where the asking rate had also come under control. So the thing is that while you need to be measured, you also need to be cognizant of the fact that you can't be scoring less than 6 an over.
Absolutely.
And plus, you need to hold wickets so that, as you said, in the last 6 overs, you can go all out. So it can't be a one-track mind, is what I'm saying. It has to be like it's a mix of 3-4 combinations that need to come together perfectly to build a good innings.
And it's not even built like that, just to support your point.
Yeah.
The first 6 overs are the batting power play. So all you need to do is just lift the ball over the stands, over the covers, I beg your pardon. Just wait for that bat ball. If it's not happening, just dance down the track and just give something puzzling back to the bowler.
But
I don't really see that happening.
There is where the predicament is, because UAE is not so conducive to stroke play in those 6 overs, that in the whole need of being like at maybe 7, 8, 9 and over, teams often end up losing wickets and they're less than 6 and over.
They do, and nor are these wickets like the flat decks you found in the 2016 World Cup in India.
Yeah.
A lot of wickets it was just purposely built just to offer
support
the sublime
wickets. Yeah.
And so what do you do when the table is turned against you, when it is basically reversing the tide? And whosoever keeps his cool under duress actually will go the long way. Cliched as it may sound.
No, that's the approach you need to take, because you can't have one fit all sort of a mentality. That really can't help, because if T20 is considered as the aggressive brand of cricket, then it's high time people realize that T20 could be the measured brand of cricket also, depending on conditions and pitch. And as we know, our favorite IPL has put the pitches to so much of, tiredness, because there's been so much of cricket that in a matter of 1 week, you really can't expect the surfaces to be very batting friendly. And as the tournament progresses, I think the pitches are even going to get lower and
that'll be even more fun. It'll just expose the frail batting lineups the way they should be, because I think it's about time that cricket does become a level playing field. And make no mistake, the other teams like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh are just spicing up the tournament as we speak. So who knows? It's a very, very open tournament.
But
I had a couple of questions for you. Number one, what happens to the West Indies if Shamsi and Maharaj play together? That's A. Number two, who's going to be your go-to batsman for tomorrow's game? And I know Markram is in form, but who's the other batsman who you think?
I would really want Miller to come to the party, because Killer Miller, because I think for starters, he batting at number 4 down, he's being really underutilized, because he's not a typical basher. He is that guy who needs about 7, 8 balls to settle in. And once he has his confidence going, can he hit those big mammoth leg side sixes? So I think he should be batting a bit higher. Dave, I can't hear you. Your voice.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I think the West Indies are going to ensure just that.
Just be a little louder.
I think the West Indies are going to ensure just that, because in Ushan Thomas and Andre Russell, I can't speak louder than this, man. Then I'll have to shout. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Can't hear you at all.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's better.
So I think the West Indies are actually going to ensure just that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Go on.
Because I think Andre Russell and bowlers like Usain Thomas really hit the deck hard for all they do. But they really just land the ball. They have the talent of landing the ball in the batsman's zone. And once that happens, it's a win-win for the batters, not for the team that they represent. So if tomorrow, for example, if Usain Thomas plays, I think it's party time for South Africa.
Because he'll give them the required pace on the slow wickets.
Yeah, and the required he'll be leaking runs, and that's one problem area which the West Indies haven't really corrected. He went for 8, 9, 10, even 11, 14 and over also. And I have stats which I can put down in the comment section of this article to prove that. He's a talented wicket taker, no doubt, but speed is not going to help you. You know, if you bowl the length balls, which he so often does, as does Russell, it's not going to help you. One bad ball on the length, on the leg side of Miller, and you're going to go out of the park.
That's what Dave. So if Miller has to do that, he needs to bat higher, because if you expect him with 2 overs remaining to get you about 30 odd runs, it becomes a little difficult. You know, that's the basic difference between a Miller and a Maxwell. Like Glenn Maxwell can go for glory right from scratch, whereas Miller needs that little time to build his innings. But once he comes into the mode of destruction, he can be lethal. So I think South Africa will be best suited to bat him 3 down rather than 4 down. Maybe Klaasen can come after that. But for me, the other vital cog in the South African wheel, apart from guys like Razi van der Dusen and Aiden Markram, is Temba Bavuma. And there's a reason I say that, because I saw a bit of, what should I say, coming into form for the captain when he started really well against Australia. He was rather unfortunate to get bowled by Maxwell. But if he can continue on that, if he can continue on that form, he can be really good for South Africa. And the other thing is, I want Markram to open. I want Markram and de Kock to open, because if both click, South Africa can easily be about 50, 55 in the first 6 overs, which gives Bavuma
They're going to get that. They're going to get that.
Which gives Bavuma and Razi enough time to build the innings, and then for Miller to go for the killer blow. That's the order that I see. Having said that, Dave, can we spend some time on the West Indies bowling apart from Usain Thomas and Andre Russell? Like, if tomorrow South Africa is batting first, who do you think are the vital cogs in your bowling attack who can really make a difference?
Obed McCoy, for starters. Right. He's a very fine talent. He's a good find.
The left arm speedster.
And I think the left arm medium pacer, yes.
Yeah.
That's it. And the other one, of course, Dwayne Bowlett Slow Bravo. He's not just DJ. He's Dwayne Bowlett Slow. For someone
so on slow surfaces, he'll bowl even slower. That's what you're hinting at.
Who knows? All I want to say is that in 2006, I believe it was this ODI against India, and it was the final over. Plenty of runs had to be scored, and he was hit for 2 fine boundaries. One of them was a lucky boundary, rather, by Yuvraj Singh. Lara was the captain. Lara walked up to him, and I think he may have asked DJ Bravo what the plan is. So then he came back to the popping crease. And the next ball was a slow one. And I think that phenomena, that exact moment really birthed the legend of the slow ball. The timber was disturbed. Yuvraj was on his feet. Lara was in DJ Bravo's lap. And the crowd was on its feet. And everybody was celebrating. It was party time in the Caribbean. And that was the birth of the Bowlett Slow Bravo. And what do we have here? 15 years down the line, the most successful T20 bowler from the West Indies. And I think somebody who's actually playing his final ever World Cup, T20 World Cup, that is. There's no better time than now to make his mark and, just leave up on high.
What about your spinners, Dave?
Akeal Hussain is a good spinner. He's young, he's talented, he's confident. He's not bogged down by flighting the ball up, by tossing the ball up. He wants the batsman to come and reach for the ball, which is good. But I think we have to see his temperament. He's a cool guy. He's a cool customer of the little that I've seen of him. I'm no expert, rather remember. I'm no Akash Vani here. Yeah, just edit that. I don't want
Akash
to be banned.
Vani and Akash Chopra.
Yeah. So I'm not an expert. That's why I said. So from the little that I've seen of him, he inspires confidence. But who's the real turner of the ball in the West Indian side? I don't think there's any. But credit should be given to Hayden Walsh Jr., who of late has been amongst the wickets. He may not seem like a real potent threat with the turning delivery, but the guy can really handle himself well. He was amongst the pick of the wickets when the West Indies last toured for the limited over series in Sri Lanka. And I think this kid, he's gonna hold it out well for himself. And but then again, you never know with the West Indies. On the same day where they suddenly seem disappointing, they can be disruptive, detrimental to one's health, and also they can also cause depression. So that's the truth about the West Indies.
So with West Indies, there is always unfamiliarity, but still a lot of hope.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the truth.
So does West Indies miss Sunil Narine? If he was a part of this team, could he have made a very big difference in bowling?
I think they definitely miss Sunil Gavaskar and the hammerings he delivered to the West Indies team of those days. But on a serious note, I think what they really miss right now is somebody who can hold the team together in the bowling department. And I think where that question is concerned, I think they need somebody like Samuel Badri, who was such
A
a
power play
key.
bowler. Yeah, very good bowler.
Yeah, I mean, the
I
fact that
remember.
that guy opened the bowling for them in
Yeah.
so many games again and again really inspired confidence, and that really got them rich dividends. But as for Narayan, I think that's a sensitive issue right now. I don't really know what to say about him because it's so often been the case that he performs well in the CPL and the other tournaments, but then in the big match situations, let's say, for example, the last time Indians came to the Caribbean for the T20 series, he opened the batting, but couldn't do anything substantial. I think what they're going to miss perhaps is having not picked up Rovman Powell because he's a destructive all rounder whose stocks are rising. And if these pitches are slow, then possibly his medium pace could have come in handy. But who knows, tomorrow Roston Chase may get a game, and then the South Africans would have
Will be
something
chasing the game.
interesting. Yeah. So rather successfully, so who knows?
So, Dave, it's funny you bring up Samuel Badri, because ironically, last time when West Indies won the World Cup, there were two guys of the similar name who did wonders. There was Marlon Samuels and there was Samuel Badri.
Yes, I remember that.
And both are not
remember
there.
that moment. Both
Yeah.
are not there.
Do you see Dwayne Bravo then holding the bowling together? Because as you said that if Samuel Badri is not there, one experienced guy can really.
He should, yeah. He's just, I think the only negativity about him is that he started going for one run too many. But let's not forget that he's not getting any younger at his age,
Yeah.
And but he's really a champion, true to the game, true to the song that he invented, which became such a rage. Yeah, you started dancing already, but that's just to support South Africa, guys. Just don't be misled. But yeah, at least West Indies should make a game out of tomorrow's contest. Even if it goes down South Africa's way, I have no problems. But at least make them fight. Take the game to the final over at least, and then don't be bundled out the way you were in the previous game with 34 deliveries remaining. Can you beat that?
That too in a T20 game.
Yeah.
So,
what was the hurry? What did they do? They went to the hotel to order in-room services, in-room dining. What were they doing? What was the hurry?
I think they were doing some sightseeing in Dubai that day. Anyway.
Side mein rakh de, baat to अच्छा hai.
So, Dave, what do you think? West Indies are better off batting first tomorrow or chasing?
I think West Indies
batting first, or should I say batting second?
To be honest, it's immaterial, Pranay. I think they are better off when they go out there and enjoy their cricket. Because till the time they don't really do that, their best game does not come to the fore. So it's important for, just like they say, world cricket needs a strong West Indies team. World cricket needs a strong West Indies team which plays with passion and does not feel that it is on the back foot. So it's 120 balls is still a lot of time here. God has given them a new opportunity. Tomorrow is a new day for both teams, including South Africa, must we not forget. And they should just go out there, play passionately, combine their mental prowess with all their heart from with the aim of delivering passionate cricket, because that's what really binds the two teams together.
But Dave, you do realize that whoever loses tomorrow, it's curtains for them because the comeback is going to be very difficult. So it can almost be a must-win for both to harbor any hopes of reaching the semi-finals.
And I'm just sad for us Indian fans that tomorrow they'll be disappointed that whosoever wins, India is still not going to change its destiny from the first game's verdict. There still may be sullen faces. Oh, why didn't India win today? But guess what? They weren't playing only. So that kind of fandom also can come to the fore. Who knows?
So you're saying there's certain fans who believe that India should be playing every day.
Every day, and just hire some mercenaries from all the teams, the best mercenaries.
Dave, speaking about India playing, I have another question for you. So India played yesterday, which was a Sunday. Now the next game that India is playing is on the coming Sunday. So how is it that there's so much of a gap between all the India games and they happen to be on a Sunday when people are going to be home, when it's a holiday, as compared to South Africa would have played 3 games for them. I think West Indies would have also played 3 games for them.
But then we are the workers, we are the laborers, so you don't give them the holiday, na?
Right.
There's no Sundays for them, Bhaiya time pe aana, extra time bhi hai, so overtime ka bhi paisa nahi hai. So,
but don't you think it's a bit surprising that South Africa would have played 3 games by then and India has not even played their second, because South Africa is playing their third game against Sri Lanka on Saturday at 3:30 p.m.
I don't know what to say, man. I think it's just...
the scheduling is like, I just thought that I should get some answers from you on the schedule.
Yeah, when Mr. Jayasha hired me as the ICC BCCI bus operator, then I was told that the team would be checking out from the hotel at 7 p.m. when the flight was at 8 p.m. back for India. So you can imagine they really want to take their own time. But that's the reason why I quit that job, and I'm here wearing a West Indian t-shirt with the light bulb on my face and talking to you about South Africa and West Indies, which actually gives me immense happiness right now.
Same here. But speaking about immense happiness, actually in the build-up of the South Africa-Australia game, I experienced immense sadness because the experts were talking about the India-Pakistan game. How do you justify that? I mean, the India-Pakistan game is supposed to happen a day later, but what's being showed, at least for the 60% of the build-up, is what Indian fans feel and what experts are talking about to look forward to for an India-Pakistan clash. Whereas a diehard South African fan like me tuned in an hour prior to see what experts say on why could Australia win or why could South Africa win. So could you give your 2 cents on this?
If I give my 2 cents, then I'm rendered penniless. But I'll still do that for you. So I think we shouldn't be really surprised, Pranay, because I think over-exaggeration and going for the overkill is pretty much the living mantra of our sports broadcasters in this part of the world. I was somebody who always loved Hindi commentary. मुझे बहुत मजा आता था सुनने में वो. But since the time some experts whose name I don't need to even recount came to the fore wearing pink shoes on white trousers and brown jackets, converting a very plain game called the gentleman's game into a potpourri of colors, which would put Lewis Hamilton's dressing choice into a bit of oblivion. I don't know what to say. But I think we have been overcooking it and overdoing it for a while now. So I'm not personally surprised. But yes, it feels very strange. It's like India-Pakistan match and somebody starts talking about Australia and England, which is going to happen after 3 days or 4 days. How are the
Forget
Indian fans
Australia,
like?
England. I think if someone starts talking about astrophysics, then that'll be something in their preview.
You can imagine how that feels. But I'm not at all surprised because I think everything is now being driven around the buck spinning hoopla of commercials, advertisements,
Right.
ROIs and stuff. So the proper cricket content and great context around it is missing. And the context yesterday was, sorry, the day when this match was happening was that they should have spoken about Australia and South Africa, and you are saying that they were talking about India and Pakistan.
Essentially,
But I
yes.
think
I mean, closer to the toss, there were some discussions about Australia, South Africa. But like for a diehard fan, like say, if you were previewing the game that happened on Saturday between West Indies and England and tuning 1 hour prior, the expectation that you have is that the experts will give some analysis which can make sense to you as a diehard supporter of the West Indies, right? And when you tune in and you see a match that's going to happen tomorrow, I mean, having said that, it's a very big match and it's like historical because India is playing Pakistan. But you're not seeing this match for that, right? So that is
so.
what sort of
So
I
these are
found very
situations
surprising.
where the fan finds it very hard to die because he's a die-hard fan, because there's no more
Yeah, man,
remorse that he'll
very well
take.
put actually. I mean, there's a sense of humor there, but if you go to
A
think
sense of
about
humor
it,
also.
it's a brilliant line because a diehard fan wants to die if what he's tuned in for is not happening.
Yeah. So it's been happening, no? It's like the 2007 T20 World Cup win, which was a
Yeah.
fascinating win. It kind of started a new chapter in Indian cricket history, but it's history. It's 15 years back. I think there's not a single week, where you can't tune into Star Sports or whatever with the same match being played again and again.
Yeah.
But that's what it has become. You and me are part of a content industry which, as I said, which is driven by theatrics, shenanigans, and just overdoing it. And I think yesterday, these are the reasons because of which, we are struggling to accept defeats with grace. I mean, it was a game of cricket at the end of the day. They played well, just credit them and just move on. But no, we have to generate memes. We have to just incite somebody. We have to, and those mocha ads, if somebody is listening to this, now what do you say to those ads? Ab ho gaya? Ab nikal gayi, hekdi nikal gayi ab. Kya mocha? What was the mocha, yaar? Why can't we as Indian fans give ourselves a mocha of just growing up? I mean, and how great a winner are you, Pranay, if you look down on me and make fun of me that I've lost? Getting my point? It's still free of cost to be gentle, to be humane, to be courteous, and you don't need to really, derive senile pleasure out of your opponent, whom you have just defeated. So you can just be simple. But I don't see things changing anytime soon.
Well said. Okay, let me put you in a spot. Who's going to win tomorrow, buddy? South Africa or West Indies?
South Africa.
Why do you say so?
To make you smile? No. But that's the truth. No, but that's the truth, because I think South Africa, we should also remember there's a historical context. 5 years back, they were hammered by West Indies. The match, I think, was in Bangalore or either in Wankhede. I think it was in Bangalore. And Gale didn't even come out to bat. I think it was Fletcher who was at the middle. And all that South Africa could manage, I think, weren't even 130 runs that they had put for the West Indies to chase down. And
Dave, in that tournament, if I can just cut you for a minute there, South Africa had scored a mighty 230 against England in the first match, and I had the pleasure of seeing it live. I had the pleasure of seeing it live in the stadium. And when England chased that down, that was the start of the demoralizing tournament that it eventually turned out to be for South Africa. Then after that, they could never get out of that shock. And possibly after that, it just went south for them. The one thing about South Africa is that they always live up to the word south in big tournaments. I seriously hope that it changes this time.
And don't be shy to hope, because there's no shy hope tomorrow. But there is his good friend Roston Chase. But I do think West Indies will come out a better better side have their lessons. I don't see how they can dismantle South Africa all of a sudden, unless and until your team just decides to self-capitulate. I don't see how West Indies can really defeat them. It'll take.
So when you say
a mountain
better,
to move.
we are hoping that it won't be a 55 all out.
It won't be.
It could be a 65 all out.
56 also, one run improvement, massive improvement. But no, West Indies fans, I love you a lot. And Indian fans, I love you a lot too, okay? So my passport is still West Indian. I mean Indian. I just live in West Delhi and I love it. I hate the South Delhiites. But anyways, coming to the point, I have one final question before we wrap up the show.
In fact, I have one more question for you before you ask me. Where's Jason Holder? Shouldn't he be playing in the 11?
I think that's for Kyron Pollard and Phil Simmons to answer.
No, but
yes,
as you being a West Indian observer and a fan,
it's not good.
You see him.
It's not good to see him. No, it's not good to see him on the reserves list. Yeah, I mean he's not.
So he should be in the 11. Is my question.
Absolutely. If Roston Chase, with all due respect, at the back of a couple of nice CPLs, can be drafted into the main team, and I know it's a very brave hunch. I hope it works well for Chase and his beloved West Indies. But if Chase can be considered, why can't the man who willingly wore the crown of thorns when he took over the captaincy reins, right? And the transformation in West Indies cricket, the little positives that may have come to the fore have all been primarily because of his leadership. Because he makes you feel part of the team. He doesn't believe in cornering you. And yes, he's not been at his ace best when it comes to the shortest form, but he's a quality all-rounder. I mean, would you actually consider him inferior to Roston Chase when it comes to all-round skills? I don't see that.
So basically what you're saying is that his surname justified the way he was for West Indies because he held them together. Holder.
Yes. Jason Holder. Yes. But my final question to you is, before we wrap up this show, how are you going to celebrate when South Africans win this game tomorrow?
My answer to that is let South Africa win and then we'll talk about it.
Are you going to South Bombay to celebrate tomorrow?
No, man. Like, you think very highly of South Delhiites. I think very highly of the townies in Bombay.
Yeah, South Delhiites and the dudes and the chicks of Scenic Farms and Greater Kailash. So, it's nice.
But, I just hope that we see good cricket tomorrow. Yeah. That's the bigger thing because what these teams need to put together is good cricket. And make no mistake, I'm not talking about good entertainment. I'm talking about pure good cricket.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the day some fans start accepting that, the world will be a better place.
Well said, Pranay. But I think both of us know the answer. It's going to take them a generation. And that's my generation, your generation. That's what we are.
Yes,
but this is just my parting thoughts. This is a huge tournament, a vital tournament, a fantastic tournament it has already become. Full credit to Pakistan. Kudos to India for, Captain Kohli's knock was fantastic. We have to admit. I hope they come back stronger. And here is me doing exactly what you reviled the Indian specialists for doing, talking about India and Pakistan show based on West Indies and South Africa. So, but yeah, full credit to, South Africa. I would again say for taking the game against Australia to the final over. Let's say tomorrow, both teams rise to the occasion and may the best team win.
Dave, I would just say, may cricket win. That's all.
It will.
And we should see a good game. And I just hope South Africa.
You just said the obvious. Show me your passport. Kitna paisa mile tere ko us passport ka. Awesome, guys. So thank you for
always nice talking to you, man. So I'm sure we should bring some more episodes around the T20 World Cup also. Yeah.
We should. And I'm going to just get a new tattoo on my body. It's going to be called Better Internet Connection next time.
Cheers, guys. Cheers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.